Wait, what does it think? 10:45 p.m. That's weird. Okay.
That's a good start.
Anyway, figure that out next time. Why is this? This is bigger than I wanted it to be. I want it to be that big. Okay. Hi, Sammy. How are you?
Hey, I'm well. How are you?
Good.
Fancy seeing you here.
I'm just gonna change the layout. So there you are. That's better.
Go for it.
Welcome to my live stream. Is my live stream, not ThoughtBot's live stream. Today we're going to pair on my first ever proper Rails app, which was my friend's mum used to sell jams at farmers markets. She used to make and sell them, and then she wanted a way of selling them online, and then she asked me if I could build a way to do that. And so I followed a book called Agile Web Development with Rails for Rails 4, maybe, and started building it out, but also used Suspenders, which is a ThoughtBot gem to help keep myself in line with best practices. But after I joined ThoughtBot, I didn't really do any much maintenance on it. So it has kind of just been ticking over, but I haven't done anything real with it for 6 years. So I'm just trying to keep it in step by step in line with Suspenders, and also, and just kind of keep bumping it along until it's up to date with the latest version of Suspenders, and then fix a load of things. So, so that's the overall thing. So, but now, would you like to introduce yourself, Sammy, to the world?
I would love to. I would like to thank you, Rob, for having me on your wonderful stream to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who provides me with a platform for my many listeners is a big friend of mine. So I appreciate that. I am a senior developer, as it says, under my name at ThoughtBot. I've worked with Rob on projects before. We've definitely had a good laugh. I've enjoyed pairing with you. I enjoy the theoretical side of programming. A lot of that stuff I find really interesting. So that's cool. Question I have already is, how old were you when you built this application?
How old was I?
When you started?
Probably it'd be 2011. So how old was I in 2011? It would be maths 26. 26? Yeah, 26. That sounds about right. Yeah, 25, wow. 26. Yeah.
Okay, I was about 12 at the time.
Yeah, well.
No, I wasn't.
We're all different ages.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, you alluded there to say that you were just the voice of ThoughtBot. What did you mean by that, Sammy? Here's a chance to plug.
Well, I mean, now that you've mentioned it, I will plug the Giant Robots Smashing into Other Giant Robots podcast, where I'm currently hosting the Giant Robots on Tour series.
Wow.
I recommend all of our listeners to go and subscribe to the podcast and have a listen. We've actually got some really good ones with a lot of AI founders. So it's really topical, really, really interesting. And for the first 100 subscribers, they could enter a raffle to go out for dinner with yourself, Rob.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, I've just started that now. So if anyone wants to...
Where am I going? Where are we going? So I'm just going to put a link to the podcast in chat.
I think, yeah. Oh, nice one. I think Greg's, is where you're headed.
Okay, cool. So Greg's I'm going to turn into Rory Stewart now. Greg's, for our international listeners, is a high street pastry shop. They do some fantastic vegan sausage rolls. If Greg's is out there listening and wants to send me some free to all 8 viewers, our high audience that we've got right now, that
sponsor the stream.
Yeah, sponsor the stream. Greg's. My brother-in-law has a Greg's vest, basically, that he likes to wear when he's barbecuing. It's very good.
That's brilliant. So
because you buy Greg's clothes in Primark.
Can you really?
Yeah.
That's quite cool. We should get ThoughtBot swag in there.
What, in Primark?
Yeah.
You can buy ThoughtBot swag online. There is a shop.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Can I get that hat that you've got, that woolly hat?
Nope. You can get T-shirts and jumpers. I think that's it. Yeah. I've got, actually, strangely, I have ThoughtBot socks on today. I was going to show the world, but nobody needs to see that.
I gave those away. I did get those, but I did give them away. Well, I gave them away to a massive fan of ThoughtBot who was begging me for the socks.
Nice. Right. So the plan for this is, so normally when we pair, we do 25 minutes, have a 5-minute break, 25 minutes, 10-minute break, 25 minutes, 5-minute break. And so we'll go with that. I wasn't very good with Jose last time on that. So I'll set a little timer now actually on my phone. So
yeah, let's try and do that.
So 20 minutes. Thank you. So let me show you in the world. This is a Trello board, which is publicly available.
Cool.
But here's the application. This is running on my local machine. So you have a jam, and you can add it to your basket. You can check out, and then it's a pretty standard like customer@example.com test customer 1 test street Testerton TE5, and then I use Stripe for my payments. There's a thing at the moment where past Rob, his JavaScript wasn't as good as it is nowadays, and so the Stripe integration isn't exactly what I want it to be. My API knowledge wasn't great, and then you get this other thing, which I'm not too happy about either. But that's the general flow. That's the main flow. Dead easy. You buy jam. So
you can come and you can. It's like an e-commerce website. You come in, you can look at all different types of jams, and you order them and pay via the website.
Yes, there are some things at the moment where there are some obvious faults where if I create a product, so I edit this. No, I don't want to edit this product. Can you spot what's missing from this field, from this form?
You have a title, you have a description, and you have a photo. No, I'm not sure what is missing.
There's no price, and I have no reason. I have no recollection why you can't put a price on there. So you have to do that from the Rails console. It's very janky. Past Rob should have known better, but hey, we learn.
So this is like an admin area of the portal where the owner of the business, when they log in, they see this and they can add products.
Yes. So it actually if I look at if you went to the shop, actually that didn't work as expected. We have products. So there's a bit of two different patterns. So you have either this admin bar at the top, which takes you to routes that are only available to admins. But then if you go to like outlets, there's a new button down here. So in some places I've inlined it, in some places I haven't. So that's something in the long term I'm hoping to work with our designers to kind of come up with a better pattern. But what you may have noticed is that this is where we come to two options for us to work on today is, where's it gone? Oh, it just threw an error. Okay. This throws an error, which is weird, right? When I went to the orders screen.
Okay.
And I thought this was just in production. So we can look at that. Or last time when I was talking to Jose, we were playing with Skylight, and we got to the point where it might be a good idea to raise a pull request against Skylight. But I haven't done the underlying work. There's some like dependencies that need installing. So we could either spend 2 hours trying to install dependencies and raise a pull request against Skylight, or we can have a look at the bug that we've got in Honey Badger somewhere. I think I've got a link. Yeah. We can fix this bug, or we can do something else. What do you want?
By way of moving right to left on the board, so you've got two things, and you've got one thing in code review.
Yep.
And what's currently in progress? What's remove neat?
So what I've done is, because I'm just trying to get my app in line with suspenders, these are just, each card represents a commit in suspenders. So I don't actually know what this does yet. So I assign this to myself, and it might just be that, sorry, this is really small.
Yeah, it's quite small.
So this is removing neat, and this is from, where's the date on this? 2019, 5 years ago. So it's just saying that we use something called, I'm still using something called Neat, which was like, we used to have a CSS framework at Thoughtbot that was included in Suspenders, but it's no longer maintained, like with the rise of Tailwind and things like that.
Okay.
So this is just a test to remove it, but I think it's not that interesting. And the other thing I've got in progress is replacing I made this massive again. Oh, it's massive already. So in Rails 5, this gem was included that kind of did both of these things. So I've just replaced it with
Okay, cool.
that. And it's in code review because I want to check the review app to make sure everything's still working. So,
okay.
Hi, Tommy's here. Hi, Tommy.
Yeah, let's go. If you head back to the board, the Trello board.
You've got control of my machine, so feel free to steal the mouse and click.
I actually do have control of your machine, so let's take control. Okay. Yeah, let's start with something fresh. Why don't we start with that bug? I know I did say originally for the brand I don't want to be associated with bugs, but hopefully I will be associated with fixing bugs, which is very different because I didn't create this bug, Rob.
That's true.
You did, and I'm coming here to clean up the mess.
If it helps, you can always because you're all about the brand, you can always rebrand bugs as undocumented features if you want. So now you're all about features.
So you intended that to happen, is what you're saying?
No, then it'd be documented because it's undocumented.
Oh, okay.
It's just like it's a surprise feature.
Okay.
Like, you get it for free.
Yeah. Oh, I like those. All right, let's work on a surprise feature. Yeah, let's have a look.
So this is Honey Badger, which is our default thing. Details for listeners. Right. I think you have to recreate the error again. So if I go to prediction.
So out of interest, why are you interested in producing it on production if you've been able to replicate it locally?
Just to show you how Honey Badger works more than anything else.
Cool. And what is Honey Badger? I've never used that.
Okay, Honey Badger is an error service. So similar to, I think you've used Sentry, and I think you've used, what other things like that have you used? You might have used
New Relic. I've used New Relic.
New Relic has a service like that.
It does.
Yeah, but Honey Badger is kind of Rails based.
I've used exception notification emails. Yeah,
I think about this. So I think just because it's kind of part of the Rails community
that's cool. Yeah, let's do it.
This really matters. But the reason I want to reproduce it is because I'm on a free account, and this was raised a couple of weeks ago, and so I just want to get the details back up.
Let's do it
in here. So if I do, I use a tool called Parity, which I think is a Thoughtbot tool, which allows you to, instead of me having to do like Heroku open and tell it which app, I can do like production open, and it'll open my production app for me.
That's cool.
So if I wait for the dynos to get going, because it's Heroku.
Yeah, I actually was looking into a few Heroku apps last night that I built when I was doing my bootcamp to learn to program. And actually, I forgot that I'd hosted some on Heroku, but I went to them and they've all been taken down. So I don't know if that's something that Heroku does, if there's like a level of inactivity. It takes them down.
I don't know if it takes them down. It might have been, depending on how long it is, the stack might have deprecated.
Probably. They're 6 years old.
Yeah, they might have just, because that's I need to get mine updated because I'm using Ruby 2.5, and the stack's going to be deprecated in April. So I need to get it off 2.5 by then, but I'll be off by then.
What version of Rails are you using in this app?
So I was on holiday last week, and because I have no life, Sammy, I upgraded this app from, I bumped it to Rails 6 last week, from 5.1 to 6, which is interesting because I had to do Webpacker and everything. And it's interesting because we don't use Webpacker nowadays because we use not Webpacker, the newer stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm having to get through this intermediary step more as a learning exercise for myself and kind of I never really had to turn Webpacker on for apps. So it was interesting. Because
really
now
cool.
it's on 6. It was actually easier than I expected. There's a really good guy. There's a really good talk at Rails Conf this year where somebody from Shopify was talking about it's actually a really manual process. It's only 4 steps to it. And Shopify have put together a gem to help you to semi-automate it. So that's worth looking at.
Is that gem for any Rails upgrade or specifically going from 5 to 6?
Yeah, for any. I don't know how far back it goes.
That's cool.
But it's interesting. I was talking to folks at Brighton Ruby about AI, and like I feel like a Rails upgrade is a really good place for using AI because it's such a manual task, and like the branches, there can't be that many branches off the main thing that it'd be a good task to throw at some sort of generative AI to say, what are the steps to upgrade a Rails app? Okay, I've got this error. What does that mean? And then just use ChatGPT. Or not even that. Without using ChatGPT, could you do something else? Okay, we have the new error, which is, let's see. So something has happened on the orders. I want to see this, please. Show me this. Show me the stat trace. Oh, no, don't. Show me the stat trace. So somewhere in my line items. Okay, where should we go? What should we do next?
Oh, so I see showing the error, right, no method error, undefined method line items for nil class. So basket at some point is nil.
Mm-hmm.
Does it give you a stack trace or not really?
Backtrace. Yes, it does. Do you want a honey style backtrace or a rail style backtrace?
Let's try the Rails one. Let's see what that looks like.
Rails one. So you come into the order index
here.
Yes.
And then it goes to this partial.
Mm-hmm.
And then that partial seems to call the method, probably line items.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you call line items, basket is nil at that point.
Yes, which would make sense because your basket's only there when before you place your order. So
you say again, your basket is only there before you. Well, isn't this an admin? Right, an admin is going to view orders, so an admin doesn't have a basket. They're not like a regular user.
Yeah. So what I think would be interesting is let's write a test. I always like to write a test to kind of reproduce these things. So if I git checkout main.
I was going to ask you about that. Do you have good test coverage on the application?
I do.
Because that's something which would probably really help with your Rails upgrade. Like if you've got test coverage, then you can be confident that you haven't broken everything.
Yes, I've always been a fan of test-driven development. And I feel uncomfortable writing code. I feel uncomfortable writing code without tests. So,
right. Can you explain what you just did there? You set an environment variable of coverage to 1, and then that has produced a report for you. Can you explain what that means?
Yes, I can. So if I look at my spec helper here, I have in the spec helper, there's a check to see if there's a coverage environment variable. And because I don't want to be creating the coverage report every single time on my local environment. And so if that's set to something, if it's set to anything, then it will run SimpleCov when SimpleCov is a test coverage tool. And we can see here that it created something. It says I got 96.28% coverage.
So what does that mean? Does that mean when the tests run, it checks if it executes like actual lines in the code base, and it's saying I'm executing 440 out of 447 lines of code?
Exactly.
And therefore you've got 96.28%. Okay.
And then if I open this file,
yeah,
you can see which lines are covered. So it is interesting to me because I feel like I got good coverage around this. That this hasn't. That I'm not getting a failure for this in my tests, which is interesting and exciting. So,
exciting is a it's a very subjective word, Rob, when it comes to these sorts of things. I don't think this excites everyone.
What's the which bit? Which bit does it?
the bit where the rest of the world says, "Why are you excited about having tests which seem to be covering everything but aren't covering this exception?"
Because it means that there's an opportunity to improve things, right? Because it means that, oh, right, okay. I wonder why that happened. I wonder what I can learn. I wonder how we can make things
don't
better.
get me wrong. You're preaching to the converted over here.
Yeah.
But most people are like excited by the Olympics that they're currently watching.
Oh, right now I know you're just trolling me because I know you're just trying to get a rise out of my. I mean, it takes all sorts, Sammy, and I'm just not a fan of the Olympics, so it's fine. Yeah. Just trying to get some hot takes, just trying to get some reactions in the chat, I think.
Well, we've got George on board, so
I've got George.
Yeah.
So what I'm looking for here at the moment is this orders order partial, because I just want to have a look. So orders order partial, and then in here somewhere it's doing line items. Okay. So what I want to do is I'm going to erase the roof, and then I'm going to run all my tests and see which tests break.
Okay, and that will tell you then which tests are running that part of the code.
Yeah, and we have a failure. So the failure is we do have a feature spec which is breaking, which is cool.
Okay. That's useful.
We have some coverage. So it was orders index spec. So it lists orders in order of creation.
So let me just read this test. So it's listing orders. It lists orders in order of creation. So it creates an order with a name of Joe Blogs. It creates a second order using factory bot, may I add, Thoughtbot gem, big up. Then it signs in, visits the orders URL and order one index page body dot. So it checks. Well, it goes and it gets the order one index and the order two index. What does it mean by index?
So this is let me just see. Let me see how.
Okay, go for it.
Let me see what. So back in 2016, when I wrote this test, that's almost 8 years ago.
Yeah.
My views on how I'd write this test have changed. So what I was trying to do was both check it was there and check the order of the orders to see were they in. But nowadays I test that at a lower level. Now I just care that there's many on there. But yeah, that's what it's doing.
So when you say you test that at a lower level, does that mean somewhere on, let's say, the model? Let's pretend this is the model. You would have somewhere in here which said, what we talk about here. I guess this is where orders, and then it would say order by, order by, and then you'd have a unit test there, which tested kind of that order by method.
Yeah.
On the model. Yeah.
Depending. And then maybe even question what's the value of testing the order.
Yeah.
The ordering of the orders. So I don't know. It seems too much of a test for what I want to test here. So yeah, it's interesting.
When you sign in here, what user do you sign in as?
There's only one type of. It's a good question. I don't know, but there's a. So we sign in as. That's not why. That's not the right thing. Let's have a look for def for sign in. Where is that defined? Oh, here. So no, that's just where I was. That's not where I want to be. Ag sign in. Could be in a spec helper somewhere. Oh, we have many spec helpers. Spec support Radfords. Spec support Radfords. So it creates a user, and then
Okay.
signs that user in. Using a
So
page object, Sammy, having worked with me, will know that I have opinions on page objects, and they may be based upon how I've used them in the past.
yes, I do know that you have strong opinions on those. So this you're saying you've only got one type of user on the application.
Mm-hmm.
So how does it
Customers,
know when someone signs in whether to guide them to the admin area, give them access to the admin area you showed me?
because we don't have customers can't create accounts at the moment.
Ah, I see.
So the accounts are only for admin users.
So then what we're saying is it's actually we're not catching that bug in this feature test.
Well, we are because
Go on.
we are signing in as the admin user, and then we visit that orders URL. That orders URL is only available to admin users.
Yeah.
So and so we're getting there, but for some reason, this is doing something different. This isn't breaking. So now we have to figure out how to write a test that is going to break it.
Yeah.
So if we look at the orders controller, which is going to be interesting because I think you can sign. I think anybody can go to the orders URL. That wouldn't be good.
Skip before action, authenticate.
Oh, and new and create. So you can create new orders, but you have to authenticate for show and. Okay. Order by created. Order by created. I wonder if that must be a parent method. So we have an order, and so here's probably going back to what we were saying. This is probably where I test. I've created a scope.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is where I test it. That ordering instead of in my feature test nowadays, I test that scope, and I'd be happy that did enough.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So still, I'm not any clearer as to why this is breaking. So let me have a look at the exception again. So it goes to app model order and line items. It goes to basket. Why does it go to basket.line items? Line items. Now,
what is a line item?
Good question. So a line item is, if I go to the shop, if I add this to my basket, that is one line item. And a line item has a product and a quantity.
So just on that show page in the HTML, where it's saying order.line items, where is that?
Here, yep.
Yeah. This one is you're showing orders. Is this that basket view? You just show me there. What is this?
This is the admin view.
So why doesn't admin care about seeing line items? Line items are things that belong to baskets.
So, but once you've paid for your basket, and so like an admin then needs to process. So they need to know how many strawberry jams, how many raspberry jams, how many marmalades. So they need to see each individual line item.
I see. Okay, so they get a list. So this is the order show page. Am I right? It's the show page, yeah, where they see a list of all the orders that have been made and all of the line items for those orders.
Yes.
Okay, well, if none have been placed, then basket is nil, right?
But no. So what happens is,
okay.
Let me show you. So when I come to the homepage, I now have no basket. Okay. I add this to basket, and this creates a basket with a line item.
Yeah.
Okay. I check out my basket by doing this. Okay. And when I place my order, in the background, it removes everything from the basket to the order, and then gets rid of the basket. So that now I have no basket again.
Got it. So is
then,
a basket something you have? Is it like something in the database that you store?
yes. So
So you're removing that record. So like as long as someone has a basket, there's a record in the database which associates the basket to line items.
Oh, what am I doing here? This is interesting. What am I actually doing? Have I done some sort of strange refactoring? Maybe this is what my. So, and I think at one point, maybe the basket always exists. This is what happened. Sorry, it's been a long time since I read the book. So I'm just looking at some of the comments in the chat, which I'll come to in a second. What happens is your basket gets an order ID. So if I go to the console, look at all these errors I've got to sort out. And I do basket.last. We have this basket, but the basket's got an order ID.
So I'm just trying to troll you in the comments. So you have so you've got a basket.
Yes.
And a basket has associated to an order.
Yes.
Okay.
So if I do basket.order, we have this. So that's the order I just created. Yes, just created. So if I do basket.line items, oh no, it's not. That's not the problem, is it? Or is it order.basket? Sorry, I need. If I do basket.order.basket. Okay, I don't know what's so. What am I thinking?
So just so I'm clear.
Yes.
A user comes into the site to create an order. At the point that they go to click that button, add £5 to my basket, at that point they don't have an order and they don't have a basket. There is no order, there is no basket.
There is no order, there is no basket.
Okay, they click £5, add to basket, it creates an order, and it also creates
a basket.
Sorry, creates a basket. It creates a basket, and then it associates line items to that basket. Okay. Once the order is processed, then the concept of basket falls away, and it's purely for the admins. There's an order with a line item.
Almost. I'll show you what's happening right now. That doesn't really matter, but tester 10. George may have spotted it because he said something about the associations, which may be something that's going on, but we'll have a look at that later. Let us catch each other up, George, and then we'll come back to that. So at the moment, if I look at basket.last, you'll notice that it has an order ID of nil. So this is basket 19, and it has an order ID of nil.
Okay.
Okay. If I then place this order, boom, order ID 25. If I do basket.last, basket 19 now has an order associated with it.
Okay. So there's the concept. So it creates a basket. A basket has line items, and then you associate that basket to the order once the order's been placed.
So this basket has line items. Oops. Basket.line items. So it has the one item that we created. This has order ID nil. That's interesting. Maybe. And then if we look at, well, we know that if we do order equals order.find, and it was 25.
Yeah.
And now if I do order.line items, that works fine. That's weird. But if I do order.basket, that's fine. Okay. So the reason I did order.
So how is an order associated with line items? Is that through a basket?
So this here. So an order has a basket, and so it's delegating to basket.
Okay.
Schema diagram. Yeah. So I would give you some schema diagrams if I could remember how the model looks, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm actually just writing down like on pen and paper now, just for like a basket has many line items.
There's a good question about the has one and belongs to, because it probably should belong to a basket. Yeah, it should belong to a basket, to be honest.
So an
no,
order,
the other way around. Yeah.
at the moment, an order belongs to a basket.
Yes. Is that right? No, an order has a basket. So, to go back,
Okay.
let's go back a step, because why does this order not have? So the error says that undefined method line items for nil class, which is suggesting that basket is. This might be interesting. So it's saying that one of our orders doesn't have a basket, right?
Okay.
George has asked why, which is such a grand question and everything. Why what, George? And I'll wait for that response.
I'm trying to think, how could you have an order without a basket, given that an order is only created once a basket has been purchased. Basket and line items have been purchased.
I don't know how it's gotten to that state, but I think that's a later problem. I think we just have to figure out how to, because that's what we're trying to figure out. How do we get it into this state? So it doesn't have a basket ID. So how does it know it has a basket? It has one basket.
George has asked, why does basket belongs to order?
Let's have a look. Let's get order and basket next to each other. Basket. A basket belongs to order because I wanted basket to have the order ID. Why did I want that to have the order ID? Did I not want the order to have the basket ID instead? That would make more sense, wouldn't it? It makes more sense that an order has a basket ID, which it does have, but for some reason, I've reversed it. Probably getting confused many, many years ago. So I think it shouldn't, and it might be the root of our problem. This should be interesting. I think an order should belong to a basket, and a basket should have an order. Should have one order.
Isn't that just semantics? Like, in terms of the database schema, it remains the same.
Maybe, yeah.
I think semantically it makes more sense.
What I'm going to do,
yeah,
to find out what's going on, I'm going to put a binding in here. Binding dot pry if basket dot nil. Thank you. I'm going to change this because it doesn't play nicely with pry doesn't play nicely with Heroku local, so I'm just going to start the server on 9,000. I think there's George has said no because you could have failed orders for a basket. You could do in the future, but not in this is not a stable application, so it's not really production ready. Like, it's definitely a playground, so like it hasn't got that sort of protection, but it probably should do in the future. So what I've done there is I've added a binding.pry when this basket is nil, so that if I go to the orders thing here, this should hold. I go to the server and I can go, okay, what's the ID? So order 8 is the offending order. A basket has many. So Okay, so I'm going to stop a second. Let's have a look at some questions. So, Dippy has asked, are you guys fans of setting the order ID to a high initial value? Otherwise, customers might have the impression of being guinea pigs. I think that's the first time that's come to mind for me. Have you got any thoughts on that, Sammy?
Not really. I don't think customers are that aware. I might be wrong, but most people tend not to look at the order ID, I would assume. And I think it's just easier for the database to increment automatically. What do you think, Rob?
Yeah, I've seen like Mike's Mike's put it in the chat as well that I've seen arguments from some clients about, we shouldn't use the sequential IDs from the database to show stuff because people could iterate through them and find stuff. But I think it depends on the circumstance of the situation. Like, for example, if you're on a microblogging platform and you want like having post ID 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I don't think there's any value really in having UUIDs there. I think if you're looking at it from a security point of view, I might even make the argument that if people are able to iterate through and find something, there's probably another problem in your code base in terms of why is that visible anyway? Like, you should be, if people are able to find that data, maybe they shouldn't be able to find that data in the first place. I don't know. There's pros and cons, like with everything in software development, it depends. Yeah. Okay, so we have this one, we have ID 8 we know is an offender. Let's see if there's any more. Someone's going to do continue. So it's only ID 8. It's only order 8 that is giving us problems. So order.find 8. Now, this thing that I created on the 28th of July, and it might be what George was saying about orders failing. So it might be, if we have a look at the orders controller, where's my cursor? So, on the orders controller, when we create an order, it creates a new order in the database, which is this line. It then calls this method build order. Now, please ignore this approach. I'm not happy with it. I wouldn't take this approach nowadays. There's just too much stuff that's abstracted at the wrong level. I'm using exceptions for control flow. It's just, you can see the early ideas about service classes. I don't even think they were called service classes when I put this in place. But so I've got a service class called order builder, and that's building an order. So if we have a look at order builder, that charges the customer. So that goes off to Stripe and does something. Wait, what am I looking at here? What am I trying to do here?
So just when do we hit this orders controller then? Is that at the point where they submit the order? So they add to the basket and then they click pay?
Yes.
So, okay, so the point they click pay, you build an order. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I was going to get both the top and bottom of this up. So the right-hand side is the bottom of the left-hand side.
Cool.
So we create the order here, we build the order, and then build order saves it. So it would save it, saves it with order options, and order options is the order params plus the basket, which is the current basket stored in the session. So for some reason, order.find, so let's see, order. But so for some reason we have an order that doesn't have a corresponding basket, right?
But yes, but an order doesn't have a basket ID, right?
No, it doesn't. But because it's the other way around. But like, So like if we had order 25 was the newest one we've got. Okay, that has a basket. but
Right.
it doesn't have a basket ID.
That has one basket because the basket belongs. Yeah. So the ID's on the. So if you go back to the controller for a sec.
Yep.
So when you that order params dot merge basket current basket, that saves the order. But when you merge into the params basket current basket.
Can you point on my screen? I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Let me do it. This order options.
Yep.
Right. You merge in the params which come through the controller, whatever they are.
Yep.
And then when you merge this into the params, does that update the basket to add an order ID to the basket record? Is that what that does? Question. Like magically under the hood?
I won't do it magically. So something somewhere is updating the basket. It's the same question that George has asked in the chat. So if we have a look at the order builder.
Great minds, George. Great minds.
So somewhere in this code, it's not doing it in charge. So well done, Rob, for keeping your responsibilities. We can forget about that. It's just payments. So where am I now? Order builder. That sends a mailer. It builds it, charges the customer. But where? It's a good question. Where is it doing it? Is it doing it? Maybe it's so maybe when I think it's doing it. Yeah, it is doing it magically on line 44.
Yeah, it's a Rails thing where if you pass it the basket because of your association in the model, it knows to update basket with an ID.
Yes. And so at some point,
and is that an optional though? But that's optional, isn't it? That a basket having an order ID is an optional association. I think I saw that in the model.
Yes.
So if that was nil, just let's assume it could be, then it would technically save an order without a basket.
Yes, if that was nil. I'm not sure how that would be nil though. So what the question might actually be is, so we think that the basket was nil at that point, don't we? So we have to do a data correction to get our data up to date. And I'd be interested to figure out how to get the data right. Because it's interesting it's happening in production as well.
Right, so that's just the other thing I wanted to ask, and just a time check, maybe we should take a break soon anyway. Because this is very much like a breakable toy sort of application, how do you know this hasn't come through you messing around on the console on production? And this is a legitimate bug which has happened.
In production, I tend not to touch, like, when it comes to production, I just tend to check that it's booted, and we'll check staging. If I tinker on anything, it's on staging, but even then, that's very rare. So I don't think it is me tinkering. So
okay.
Dippy's just said, with Rails, I find questions like this hard enough to live monitor. The generated SQL. I think it's what I would say is what you'll notice is there is a supreme lack of validations on this. So there's nothing to stop a blank order.
You mean a basket? Sorry, an order without a basket.
Yeah. But, I don't understand how the question goes back to why has this happened. George has come up with a theory about if you have two tabs. Let me show it. If you have two tabs, you're on the order create page. On the other tab, you destroy your basket, then you go back to the create order. That may have happened. That's interesting. And that feels like a design flaw to me in the system to address. So
it could also be, I mean, so I was going to say, it could also be someone cleared their cookies. So you're storing the basket in the session.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unlikely.
I'm trying to think I don't think I've been doing anything odd with this. Everything's been pretty standard. So I haven't been having like multiple tabs open and Sammy, you'll know I don't try not to keep multiple tabs open. So it's interesting how it got to there. I think what I would like to do is get the data fixed so that the page renders correctly. Check production so the data renders correctly, and then look at, and then maybe we can talk about if we were writing this today, and maybe we'll draw some schema things. Forgetting what exists, how would we design this, and then compare to what we've got now and see what's missing. Because I think it's wrong. No, the current design is wrong. I'm happy to say that I designed it, I wrote it. So the design is wrong. And so I think now would be a good time to take a break for, how long do you want to take a break for, Sammy? 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
Could we take a break for the next hour and just call it a day? That wouldn't be fair to all our fans. Yeah, let's do it.
I like
that. Yeah, as an influencer, you get used to using this terminology. Maybe 5 or 10 minutes. So just so I write down the points you wanted to do next. You wanted to do. I'm just writing it down. Fix the existing data with migration, and then have a think about the design of the modeling, the data modeling design.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Let's talk about how we would approach the fixing the data, because you raised a very good point, and I was going to do it the naughty way. But let's do it the proper way. I like that. So
okay, yeah, we can think about that after.
And maybe just before we go, we have a question from Dippy again. Dippy. Sorry, my eyes aren't. I'd always wonder, how does Shopify do it? Yeah, I often think this, and I've looked at some of their documentation when looking at things that I want to change in the application in the future. And so, because if I was doing this now, I probably would try and use an off-the-shelf solution for this person using something. But at the time, it was helpful for me, and I was doing it for free, and it was a learning experience for me that I was trying to figure this out following a book. But yeah, I think looking at how other people do things is a good way to kind of approach these things. Right. Anyway, for now, we're going to take a break. If I can find the right buttons, let's go side by side. There's me and Sammy. And then we're going to press this button that says, be back in 5. So see you all soon. while we wait for Sammy to come back, is anybody in the chat who has any questions that I can answer while we've been doing stuff?
Welcome.
Sammy is back. Welcome. Greetings, traveller. So, let's turn this banner off.
Yeah,
let's do this one for a bit. Oh, no, let's not that one. We want this one. Oh, okay. George wants us to go to the schema. Yes, I think we can go to the schema. Where were we? Where we last left off, we said that we were going to fix the data, which is an interesting concept, and how we approach fixing the data, and then look to change things. But should we look at the schema first? What do you reckon, Sammy? Should we give George what he wants?
I don't think we should give George what he wants because I think we'll get derailed.
Okay.
Let's.
I think we'll probably look at the schema later.
We will. We will look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's going to be interesting. So if I go to let's come out of my local console and do production run Rails thing. So what I'm going to look for is, I wonder how many orders I've got in production. I hope it's not many because I think this is hard to do on the console because of the optional nature of basket. I can't just do basket where order ID nil because they'll be valid baskets.
I'm not sure. Are you sharing your screen again?
Sorry, no, I'm not sharing my screen. How dare you? This button and then this button, and there we go. Yes.
Cool.
So now I'm on my production Rails console.
Okay.
So I probably should have run this with Sandbox. It's fine. So if I do, how many orders do you reckon I've got? Please don't be many. 26, that's fine. I'm happy with that. So if I do orders.count, because I'm going to have to do this in Rails, because I don't think I can do it for SQL unless somebody can think of it. Okay, yep, thank you. Yep, okay, sorry, I saw a comment. Okay, order, and then order. Sorry, let's do all, and then do dot select, where an order dot basket dot nil. How many does that give us? I've got order dot map ID. I have 6 orders. I have 6 orders: 1, 2, 3, 4, 11, and 12. In the meantime, Dippy asked, are you using a Ruby version manager for 259 here? Locally, I use a tool called ASDF. I know Sammy uses something else.
I use RVM.
RVM. I use ASDF because it's part of our laptop build, and I'm lazy, so I just use this, which I'll share. This is our default machine setup, and it was in there. So I've shared that. So feel free to use that if you want. And that comes with a bunch of tools that make things easier. So I use ASDF locally. That's the question, answer to that question. Anyway, back to the code. Right. So we have these 6 orders that don't have a basket. which isn't helpful because I don't know. So, so the question is, we have two questions. In the real world, what would we do if we had these? You'd go and find the baskets that for those orders, and you would change the data, right? That's the right thing to do.
So we've got baskets which don't have an order ID.
Yeah, but it's okay. That's okay. Baskets without an order ID could be okay because
yes, that can exist because it's optional.
Mm-hmm. Which is wrong. Which is one of the things we'll have to change to fix the code.
I don't know if that is wrong.
Oh yes, I love
okay.
that. Okay,
but we'll get back to that now. But what you're saying is how could you fix this? That means you would the only way to fix this is to either delete the orders entirely. Well, I guess that's what you want to do, is delete the orders.
So I was thinking that what we could do. So order one. Let's have a look at order one. So order equals order.find one. Oh, that's got personal identifiable information. Okay, so if I look at order one, the created at timestamp here. So I know. So if I do that time, so I want to do created at equals order dot created at, and now I want to find basket dot where. So now I want all baskets where the created at. There's a way to do this in where created at is less than, and there's a way to do this in Rails, I'm sure.
Yeah, you can do it with like 2 dots or 3 dots. I don't remember what it's called. Inclusive and
with
exclusive.
a range.
A range, thank you.
You can. Thank you, Sammy. That's what I'm looking for. So you can do created at. Created at is exclusive created at. So that should give me all baskets that were created before this order. And Sammy, actually, when we've been pairing, told me how to remember if this is inclusive or exclusive. Do you want to tell the world, Sammy, if you can remember?
It's something to do with an E, right? It's got 3 points on the E.
So let me show the desktop. How do you do it to show the let's hide this. Hide the terminal. Oh, I've got this clicked. Right. I hide the terminal. Hide Safari. Hide Safari. And then I don't want this open. So Sammy says, if you have 3 dots like this, then it becomes the letter E, and that's how I remember if it's inclusive or exclusive.
Yeah.
And I like that. That's how I now remember it.
So, yeah, and again, that's the sort of wisdom they pay me the big money for, Rob. It's that sort of thing that I bring to the table.
I thought it was just for the brand. Okay, so now if I look for baskets where the syntax error. Oh, we're using Ruby 2. We're using the version of Ruby or Rails using might not support this. Yeah, maybe. So we're too futuristic. We have to go.
Yeah, go back to SQL.
So created at. So now is it where created at is less than created at. So we have, oh, look at that, 1 basket. So we know that, oh, but that's got an order ID of 5. Less than or equal to. Okay, so that's interesting, isn't it?
Well, you don't have a basket, right? Isn't that the whole bug? The whole bug is there is no basket for this order.
Or that a basket didn't get assigned.
Yeah. Yeah. But it sounds, yeah, okay, it could be that. But it appears to be that the basket might not exist.
So for order 1, we're going to have to delete order 1, right? Or no, we could. So I just had a thought. what about if instead of, what if we fix it in the code? What if we allow you to have a basket with a null basket?
So let me just think about that. So should an admin be able to view an order that doesn't have a basket? Because that's technically not an order. Technically, an order without a basket is not an order.
But if you're a customer, we think that when the customers place this order, it's been, did the customer get an error? We don't know at this point.
It seems like from the code they didn't, because it's optional.
So if I'm the seller, if I'm Denise, she comes to the orders, and so she doesn't want the error, but she needs to tell the customer. So she needs some way of it saying details missing or something like that.
Okay.
So what I'm thinking is that there's a quick spike.
Yeah, George has raised a good point as well.
Yeah.
Because if an order does exist, it means the customer did pay. I don't know if you want to highlight that, Rob.
Yeah, thank you.
So George says 86G Cosmo. If the order exists, it means that the customer paid. Do you really want to delete the proof the customer paid? And I think that's what you were getting at, Rob, which is like, actually for Denise, it's more helpful for her to know that something's gone wrong.
Yes, and so if I spike out something quickly in my terminal, where am I? So where's order? So order has a basket, right? And that basket we're saying is sometimes nil. But what if we did def basket is super or missing basket dot new?
So I think I spot a nil object pattern, Rob.
Oh, yes, that'd be correct.
Do you want to maybe give an explanation of what that is, or let's go on.
Go on. Yeah.
No, I was going to say maybe let's run with it first and see where we end up, because that might not be what it is.
Let's spike it out.
Cool.
So if I do this, and I'm just going to, in the same class at the top, do a class missing basket. So now we have a missing basket, okay? And so if I put that in, this should fail still, but I think why is I still got a pointer? This should fail still, but I should get a different error message. Missing basket.new. Now I can view all the orders. Interesting. We're just doing this. Wait. Missing basket exists. Okay. So I already have
but does it have a line items method? I don't get that. Why is it not?
Yeah, so it does. Let me show you. Because
okay.
Past Rob was a terrific fan of the null object pattern. And so the missing basket object is a null object. So everything acts as if this is empty or it doesn't exist. And so it just kind of handles things gracefully. And so you can, Active Record has a special relation called none. So that acts like an empty relation. And then they also have an empty basket partial, apparently.
This is indicating to me that whoever programmed this, young Rob, junior Rob, was aware that there was a possibility of a missing basket issue, because you have coded some sort of solution for that.
Well, you see this empty thing here, this empty basket partial. So if I go to basket now, your basket, this is a missing basket that's being rendered here, I think.
Oh, it doesn't mean it's gone missing. It means you don't have one yet.
If I have a look at, can I make this bigger down here? Yeah, okay. So if I have a look in here, and I go to storage cookies.
Do you want to take the banner off George's comment out? Because then I'll just give more screen space and we can see. There you go.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. So in here, this Bradford session that'll contain the data, I think. Is that right? Session storage. I think this is where the cookie for my basket is contained. Let's delete it. Let's find out. Clear cookies. Clear cookies. Yeah, clear the cookies, right. So if I come to here, now there's no basket. And so it's rendering a missing basket. So that was to handle that situation.
Would you have, looking back, would you have named it missing basket, or would you have named it something else?
Maybe empty basket makes more sense. I try to I try to not use names like null basket or missing basket, and try to give it the name of the situation it's handling. Joe Quenneville talks about this on a recent episode of The Bike Shed about all objects and kind of naming the concept of what it actually represents, that missing thing is. So sometimes a classic example is if somebody isn't signed in, they won't have a user record in the database. So they're not a missing user, they're a guest or a visitor or something like that that's more descriptive of the situation.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And this is where like people say, like, you know, naming is such a big thing, because as a new developer to this code base, imagine you weren't here, I would have come along and said, oh, this is the missing basket issue. This is the concept of when a basket goes missing. Whereas when it's named empty basket, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, so Dippy's asked the question, a guest or visitor with an empty basket. The idea at the moment, we don't really have to worry about the user so much, because the user's only ever used for the admin settings. I think later on, when we have the idea of customers having their own accounts, it might get a bit more interesting. But at the moment, I think this is. But you're right about naming stuff, because it's gonna, Sammy. You're right about naming stuff, because my next question is, oh, I pressed the wrong button. No, I don't know what happened there. I pressed the button that changed something on my other screen. That's fine. So here, in order, just got rid of it. I did too much. So def basket. So either we've used the version from Active Record, but if that doesn't exist, we create a missing basket. So I think because of the names, let me stop. Is our current missing basket object actually what we want here, or is it very similar? Because is our current missing basket actually an empty basket? And what we want is a missing basket. Are they two very similar concepts that are different?
I would say they are different things that need to be represented conceptually different.
Yes, I would agree. Let me see where missing basket's used.
I've been reading recently 99 Bottles by Sandy Metz. That really good book. And in there, she even, you have an object which has an instance variable called numbers. And you're using that numbers. So the 99 bottle song is 99 bottles of beer on a wall, etc. And what's interesting is she shows how that numbers variable actually ends up representing two different things. It ends up representing the number of bottles, but it also represents the number of verses. So you could use this variable called number, but it can get very messy because it's actually referring to two different concepts entirely, even though very often the two are the same, right? So on the 99th verse, or let's not go 99, on the 50th verse, it will be bottle 50. Very often they are the same. In the 99th verse, it's go to the shop and get more bottles. There isn't a bottle number. So yeah, separating these concepts can be really important down the line as you build on these things.
Yeah, I think that, right, because now at this moment it seems trivial. Although let's just use it because but this code base, we're already looking at decisions I made 8 years ago. We'll look at it in 8 years' time and go, oh well, why did we do that? Like why? Or they must be the same thing, because of a reason that somebody decided 8 years ago. So it's better to kind of make sure you get the names right now. It looks like our missing basket is only used in one place. I have a fine okay. So I think that we rename missing basket to empty basket and then create a new missing basket would be my proposal.
I think let's pull on that thread, and the overarching goal here is to get it's not really, it's kind of fix the error. We were going to do that by manipulating the data and changing the data. We now think we're going to do it by handling this missing basket concept.
Yes, and I think let me sign in again. The interesting thing will be what we didn't check with our fixed code, with our little spike that's in place. What we didn't check. So if we go to orders, I wish I had the order numbers in here. Okay, so I have to look at the status bar. So I know that order number 8 is broken. So there's 9. Here's 8. Here's number 8. It has no data. But we've got other ones as well. We have a few. So what we need. So yeah, we want to fix it. So now at least we're seeing them in here. And so the next step is what would be better information. So I think let's fix it so that there's no longer an error being raised. And then we look at what would be better information in here and what would be better information in here, because this is the view of the order. Oh, there's a fulfill button. I wonder what the fulfill button does. So yeah, I think the fulfill button sends an email. So yeah.
A really interesting discussion in the chat that's just come up is Dippy said about naming things is hard, and the other one is cache invalidation. So naming things is one of the 2 hard problems in coding. The others being cache invalidation and off by 1 errors.
Yeah.
I was just reading about cache invalidation last week in that 99 bottles book, and it's really interesting how Sandy does advocate for creating lots of immutable objects rather than a few mutable ones that you kind of then have to maintain their state, which is it's really interesting to think about.
Yes, I love all Sandy Metz's stuff, readings, talks, and everything. So I highly recommend looking at anything that Sandy says. Okay, so let me have a look. Where are we at now? What does everything look like? So let's get rid of this change to app models order. Why are you not working out? Okay, and let's stash this other stuff because I want to keep that for later because my environment's set up weird. Okay, so now we're at a clean slate. We have nothing. Let's do fix missing baskets. Let's create a new branch called fix missing baskets. Okay. So let's create a test. Do I want to create a test? I don't want to create a test yet. What I want to, because the first step is we want to rename missing basket, right?
Yeah.
So this is named wrong. So first we're going to rename this to empty basket spec RB. And then everywhere we've got missing basket. I wonder if Sammy will make any mention about how I used to write tests compared to how I write them now.
Well, I can see there's a few mystery guests in there, provided by our lets and our befores.
Yeah, and the subject as well.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Which is redundant because that's what subject does by default. Which is interesting. So yeah, past Rob had a lot to learn about how to write tests, which is good. For folks who maybe don't know, at Thoughtbot we very rarely use the RSpec syntax. Like we would inline all of these subjects and lets and befores and stuff. And I probably, this is too brittle as well. So should we, let me run the test. So it says that empty basket doesn't exist because at the moment it's still called missing basket. Okay, so let's git rename this to empty basket.rb and then change that to empty basket. Okay, so now our unit test will pass, but everywhere else where we've referred to missing basket, which is, let's open these specs. It says one, we have this. So let's change that one, So this should break because initialize constant missing basket. Oh, okay. Why? Past Rob made some odd decisions about writing code. Look, I have a service class with the .core. I would definitely not do that nowadays. Ask me. Yeah.
Why not?
I think it's undescriptive. I think it's just little scripts everywhere. I don't know why. Why did I do that? Interesting. I don't know why I did that. So yeah, don't know. But now I'm a test pass.
Cool.
I run all the tests. So I have at least 2 different types of service class in my code base. Interesting. So they will change at some point in the future. Basket.where options. So where.first is also what find by does. So much stuff in here to change. Okay, cool. So that's done our test pass. And so now we've renamed missing basket to empty basket. So let's just quickly change that there. So let's add that. We changed missing basket to empty basket, change missing basket to empty basket, and we changed missing basket to empty basket, but my linters aren't set up correctly, so I'm just going to add the bits I want. So I want that bit, and I want that bit, but I don't want these linting fixes because I've got a conflict in how my linters are set up because it's something else that's on the list. Let's get rid of that. So let's check that in. Rename missing basket to empty basket. Done. Okay. Bye, George. So now we can write our test for our orders spec. So if we go to our orders spec, orders index spec, this is our feature spec. I'm going to create what?
So are you trying to create a spec now that hits the bug?
Exactly.
Okay.
And I'm going to use something I think it's after Grim I saw use this phrase. It's either transactional or transition. I think it's a transactional test. So I'm going to write a test to give me a scaffolding around the situation, but it's highly likely that I'm not going to keep this test. It's there to guide me, but I'm not going to commit it. We'll find out. So the context is when the basket, when the order is missing a basket. Ooh, context. What does it do?
I think we want it to display the orders without the basket. Yeah. Should still display the orders, right?
Yeah, it shows the order without a basket. It still shows the order. That's what I want. It still shows the order. Okay, lovely stuff. So let's create an order. With basket nil. Thank you, Copilot. What can I? Let's give it a.
Oh, so are you using Copilot? I didn't even notice you've been using it.
Yeah, I have it now and then, and I can quickly scan it. I just use it as tab completion.
Yeah. So that's I was wondering as like a thought experiment. like if maybe towards the end of the stream, we asked AI like ChatGPT about the problem we had and see what solution it comes up with, and did it arrive at the same solution?
Nice. So name, we can see. Right, and I'm going to give it a name of, I'm going to give it test customer.
Oh, so is the name of an order the name of the person?
That's a good, I'm making that assumption from what I'm seeing on line 11 and 12. Let's have a look at the factories. Did I? Oh, at some point, okay. Yeah, the name is the name of the customer.
Okay.
So
I might have modeled that differently.
Yeah. So some of
like
the decisions,
with a customer table or something.
So some of the decisions are mine, some of the decisions aren't. So as I said, it's
here we go. Agile. Here we go. Shifting the blame. I mean, this is just a typical pairing session with Rob.
Agile web development with Rails 4, maybe. Yeah, this looks about. Yeah, that's the book. So I created the website based on this book from 2013. Well, it can't be 2013. This might have been Rails 3. I don't know. Let me have a look at the front cover. Yeah, that looks about right. So the original app must have been a Rails 3 app. They're based on this book.
Listen, I pass no judgment.
That's fine. Well, you learn things, don't you?
No, it's true.
Okay.
So hopefully this test fails.
Yes, that is. Yes. So let's run this test. Oh, let's look at that error message. That looks like. That looks like the same error message. Would you not say?
It does to me.
Excellent. So now we have our thing reproducible. So good. We got there. We figured it out. And that's cool. So now, if we have a look, so our theory is that if we do, if we have a basket that does super or, and I'm just going to do something, class.new, class new to line, def line items. It's a really horrible piece of code, but all that does is create a new object that has an empty array of line items.
What does super do in this context?
Excellent question. So super, actually, let's go back a step. I'll tell you, and then I'm going to delete this code because it's gone in the wrong order. So super in this context calls the version in application inactive record. So it'll call the current, what we now call order.basket. So it'll try and call basket, the current version of basket. Does that make sense? And if that doesn't exist, then it calls whatever we want.
So it's calling the basket method on the order. Let me just get my pen back. It's going to try and call that when you do order.basket, it will hit our method. Super will say go up the chain and try and call this from like the parent object, which is the active record object. And if that returns nil, it will then go into the OR condition. I don't know if you can scroll down a little bit.
Yeah.
It will then head to the OR condition. Say, I didn't find a basket associated, so now I'm going to create a new object which has a method called line items.
Yes, but the mistake I made on purpose, Sammy, and I expected you to pull me up on this, was I didn't write a test first, which is highly unlike me. So let's do that.
Well, I mean, I guess it is a public method, isn't it?
Yeah. So let's go down. So let's find, I like to keep my test in alphabetical order, or at least I do nowadays. Looks like I did in the past as well. Line items.
These are all red flags. Programming on a white background in alphabetical order. Those
What
are
do you?
red
I don't.
flags.
White background's the way forward. I'm thinking of going back to a dark background.
Does it not hurt your eyes, the white one?
No, not really. I originally did this as a troll for you. Like, it must be like 18 months, 2 years ago now. That you were moaning, and then I liked it, so I kept it.
Yeah, I guess you can adjust to anything.
Yeah. So you can see in a basket. It is the basket associated with the order. That's the way I like to do it. So expect order dot basket dot to now to be. Would it be basket? I don't know what the if the equality will be right, because I think it might not necessarily be basket. It might be equal to basket. But let's find out. So let's.
But to be basket, is that not saying to be of object type basket?
That's be our basket.
Okay. So yeah, be basket is an equality assertion.
I think so. We'll find out. Let's find out. Let's create a basket. So we want to do. Let's build a basket. Because I don't think. I'm just going to look at the order factory here. I don't think this. Oh, it does come with a basket. So by default, an order comes with a basket, which makes sense, right?
I personally might not put it in the factory if it's optional. So the factory should go on.
It's not optional. A basket can have an optional order. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but I'm going to do order equals order dot. I'm going to use some. I don't sometimes. No. I'm going to create an order with a basket. The basket. And so we're saying that order dot basket should be basket, right?
Yeah.
Let's find out. So yeah, that seemed to work, but I don't know.
Can you bring the method on the right hand side?
I can bring the method on the right hand side.
Yeah,
it doesn't exist. There is no method.
Okay. There's no method. Cool.
So it's just it's testing this. So normally I wouldn't test this because it's just testing Rails, but I want to change the behavior. What I want to check is that it breaks. So it does break. Okay, I'm happy. If the test passes first time, I never trust it. So I'll break it and see.
Yeah.
And I was pairing somebody the other day. You can actually do. You can put an emoji as a symbol, which was fun. I think that's what we did. But Copilot and Vim and everything are getting in the way of each other.
What does that look like on when the test report comes through?
That broke or something. Yeah, that maybe it won't work on newer versions, on older versions of Rails. But yeah, that's another trick from Sandy Metz. Is like when you're trying to put like temporary values in, like while you're refactoring, is to use like a symbol of banana, because most of the time it doesn't make sense to have this. Right. Yeah, so put something like that. So remember to take it out.
Unless your application is a grocery shop.
Yeah. Okay. So now we know that worked. So we're going to say it's context. And this is where I just like to steal the same context from my other test, because that's what we're doing. It is an empty basket. Now, let me get your opinion on how you would test this.
Cool.
Let me write. Okay, how you would assert this.
So let me just see context. When order is missing a basket, it is an empty basket. So order, create an order with a basket on it. I expect order.basket to be a basket. So when we say to be basket is we don't. Well, we do. It's interesting. Okay, so we do want it in a. If we think about duct types in terms of objects, we expect that the empty basket and the missing sorry, we've got not empty basket, we've got basket and missing basket essentially operate in the same way. We should be able to send messages to both without caring whether you're a basket or a missing basket. In which case, should we assert that it is just assert it's a basket, or do we want to assert at lower level and say, actually, you're a type of missing basket?
So I was trying to set you up for a trap, because what I was trying to go for was that I would want to avoid what I've done in other places here, where you might be tempted to do that.
I would be, because if I'm fully honest, that's what I would have done.
But you don't care that it's a missing basket. What you actually care is that
it acts like a basket.
Yeah,
it's like a duct type. Yeah,
it is duct typing. Like we want it to be able to have, when it's nil. If you go back to what the original problem is, we want something to come back that has an empty array of line items. So I would probably test something like that, because it's the behavior I care about more than anything else.
Thoughts are, however, your test then becomes possibly a bit brittle, because at the end of the day, the return value is an object. And that object could change in the future to not have a line items method, and it could have different methods.
But that's
in which case the test breaks. Yeah, go on.
If the line items do change, I would want that to break.
You want that to break?
Because I'm changing the public behavior of something. But in other terms, sorry, I thought about something. But other times, it might be that. So, for example, us changing missing basket to empty basket, which is what we've just done, I wouldn't have to do that change in this class anymore, because the behavior hasn't changed, the name has changed. And so that would make the test more brittle if I put missing basket. Because if we suddenly decide to change missing basket to broken basket, we now have to change the test. But by just doing it on the behavior, we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, and I think this is like this Sandy Metz talks about this a lot. It's a big strength of Ruby object-oriented programming, dynamic. Is it dynamic typing instead of static typing?
Yes. So dynamic typing. Yes.
Yeah, that allows us to care less about what an object is and more about what it does or the messages we can send it, and that allows objects to be interchangeable. So, for example, we can write a piece of code that doesn't care whether it's a missing object, a missing basket, or a basket, just that it responds to line items, and it actually allows code to be it kind of allows code to be far more open. One second, I'm going to get this right. Closed for modification, open for extension is what it allows. So
yes,
it's the open close principle, which is the O of solid, where if you can have those objects be more interchangeable, then instead of modifying existing objects, you could just add. Well, so let's say in the future we need a different type of basket. What type of basket could you have? A failed basket or whatever it was. It's going to be much easier to use when we have this overarching concept of a basket and it can kind of be plugged in.
Yes, exactly. So in theory, because what I'll show you as well, so if I run this test, expected nil to respond to line items, and if you look at, again, if we go here, slightly different message. I expected that to be the same, but that's fine. Oh, no, I didn't expect that to be the same. So we've got a nil, which is what we want. So if we go down to here, because we like to put them in alphabetical, if we do basket. So if I do super, I'm just going to run all my tests. So going to run on my basket test. So just make sure we've got both of them. So our first test is still passing, but our second one isn't. It's failing still. And what I said was, well, if I do class.new that has line items. So now I have any object. I've just got an object, right? It has no name.
Yep.
So, but in theory, he says that should pass. So now I just have an object that responds to line items that's empty.
Yeah.
And so now we can. So we know that our unit test is passing. We know that the whole file is passing, and we know that our feature spec is passing. So we fixed the bug. Okay. So, Sammy, in test-driven development, what comes after red and green?
Well, if you mix red and green together, you get purple. Do you get purple if you mix red and green?
I think it depends on whether it's light or paint, but I think you normally get brown. They don't have green light, do you? It's red, blue, and yellow light, but red. Oh, I don't know. It's brown. Cheers and joy.
I'm Googling this.
So anyway,
you're asking
now
for refactor. So it's red, green, refactor.
Yes, it is refactor. Sorry. Yeah, that is the right answer. So now we want to move this so that because it's passing, but
green and red colors are mixed. The color produces yellow.
In light. What?
So I've just Googled it and it says when you mix red and green together, it brings yellow. The color's
brown,
yellow.
Definitely brown. Okay.
Maybe we'll ask the viewers to just help us out on this one. If you could put in the messages.
Oh, it's interesting. You changed that from fans to viewers. So
sorry, followers.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I'm speeding up just because I'm looking at the time. We've got 15 minutes left. There you are, Sammy.
They've told you.
So where are we at?
We have red, green, refactor. So we have red, we got green, and now we're going to refactor.
Yes. So now let's create a class. So where's my cursor? I'm over here. So let's create a new class called @models, and we've said we're going to call it missing spec models missing basket.rb. Right. Don't know how many years I've been writing R spec, but I always forget to put spec on the end of the file name. Missing basket spec.rb. Okay. Require Rails helper R spec .describe missing basket. So you'll see here that Copilot's saying include type model, but we have a setting in our spec helper that infers that from the directory name, so we don't need to include that.
But do you need that if it's not going to be an active record model? It's just going to be a normal object, I think it's just a plain old Ruby object. Yeah,
it's just there to the type model. I think it's just there to group the spec files.
Okay.
And here, Copilot's telling me to do all this, but no, I am not going to do that. I'm going to do describe line items. Do it is empty. Because that's all I care about.
Yep.
I'm going to do expect. I always write my test backwards for some reason.
I remember doing that when we used to pair together on client work. I always found it interesting.
So yeah, I don't know. It just helps me figure out what I want to do, and I always try and break it down into like the 4 phases. So like I've got my assertion. I'm going to do missing basket.line items, and then finally we do my setup. So I've got my setup, my execution, and my assertion. So I've got my 3 steps in my test, separated by white space.
The fourth one would be tear down, but it does that for us. So it gets rid of all the data out of the database.
Yeah, we don't really need to worry about that. So what I would probably do at this point, for fast, I might even get rid of this. Can I? Okay, lovely. We're going to have super fast tests. So don't need raw spec because we're going to put it in here to get our test passing. So now we've got undefined method. I'm going to slow down. Undefined method line items for missing basket. So let's add a method called line items. I don't want anything in it because my test didn't ask for anything in it. So now it's saying expected nil to respond to empty.
This is returning nil. Yeah.
So now that's passing. So our test, we have a class that's working as expected. We had our fast feedback loop. Let's create ship it missing basket.rb. So let's move this now over here. Now we will need to require Rails helper so that it loads the file. So if I run that test, lovely stuff. And over here now, oh, that was the wrong test. Now if I run this, our order specs pass and our index specs still pass. What I'm thinking is it might be worth doing line item.none for more context.
Yeah, it's more declarative. So if you're coming and you're looking at it, you're saying, why does it do that? That reads as I'm returning no line items.
So let's do that. Okay. Dippy liked your ship it stamp. Do you want to show him any of the other stamps you've got, Sammy?
Oh, have I got stamps for you, Dippy?
So we're using a tool called Tuple for remote pairing. And so it has some things like this that you can put in there while you're pairing table flip. Exactly.
And just for the last one, that's all I've got.
Nice. So we have a missing basket. I'm just going to do a quick, make sure that everything looks as expected over here now. Our errors are gone. Lovely. So now we are. So one thing as I was writing this test over here, I was thinking about, is this the right level to define this method? Or should it be in a decorator?
So where is it currently? It sits in the order.
In the actual active record model.
In the active record model. So you've got the order model. Well, basket normally sits inside the model because it's an active record association. So the method basket, I know you've overridden it here, but if you think about has one basket, that is a method which is a database query. So that belongs in the model. But do you have a decorator?
No, I don't. So I probably won't. Because yeah. I just had a thought though. I wonder what. Wait, is this on production? Where am I now? Yeah.
But in response to your question, it's a tricky one because it could be returning an object for the front end, which is like a nice time to use a decorator, but it also could be returning a database object.
Yeah. I just had a thought about if you do basket.none, I wonder if this. No, it doesn't. I half thought would this work like like a null object for us, but no.
Okay.
Chance to be. What's basket.none.first? Is it nil? Yeah. Okay. We'll forget that. So yeah, what we've done is right.
I would say this is a shippable piece of code.
I would as well. I also want to delete this test.
And can you just explain why you feel safe now deleting it?
I feel safe in deleting this because I have the test on the order model, and I don't think for the value that it's going to, I don't think it gives me the value that I need here. I tend to think, this is how I think. For my feature tests, I tend to have a test per branch in my controller. So for example, we're testing the index action really. And there's no like if no orders, for example. It just has this one branch of code.
Yeah.
So that's the level I want to be testing my features at, and that's my rule of thumb for that sort of thing. So I think that the value, the speed, having to boot up the server and and all these things to run the feature spec, the value is not there to keep this test. So it's done its purpose, and it's okay. It's okay to delete tests and refactor your tests. That was me giving the PSA. Okay, that's fine. So I've just written that as a file called write because Vim. Because despite using Vim for all these years, still don't know how to use it. Okay, so I learned how to do, was it N? No. I learned this is a tool called Vim Fugitive, which puts Git in your Vim editor. And so I learned some new tricks the other day, but maybe I didn't. Shift in, no. A, that was it, A. So that's, I don't want this line because it's not what I want. So let's get rid of that. Don't want that. Load. I do want this. That's our new super. And then this is our new test for the basket. So we want to keep that. But we don't want this change to total price. Load. So we've got a missing basket. It's got our line items. It's line items none. We've got our order that returns a missing basket if there isn't one existing. We've got our specs. And we've got our specs. So now let's write a lovely little message. So let's do fix orders without a basket. Before, the orders page would throw an exception, an error when there was an order without a basket. The seller would not be could not see any valid orders and therefore could not ship anything. We added a missing basket to ensure we show all orders. I'm really anal with my commit messages, folks. So yeah, I like to put it through. The orders page is showing where a customer. Before, the orders page would throw an error when the customer placed an order without a basket. The seller could not see any valid orders and could not ship anything. We added a missing basket to ensure we showed all orders. That sounds right.
Yeah, that's good.
Put a link to our Trello card. And then is it? That's right, syntax, isn't it?
Yeah, that's good.
Actually, I want to change the history of this. I just want to move some stuff around. I want to. Right. I just caused myself hell. Yeah. Okay, we'll leave that as it is. Right, let's push that. Let's create a PR. What I want to do here is I want all this.
Nice.
Oh, that did work. Okay, so what that's doing now is that's going to go off and run my tests in Circle CI. But I think that brings us a good point to kind of leave things now, as that's kind of doing. I like to do this view first, and then because then it lets CI run, and I can kind of fix any errors before raising the pull request, and I can do a quick code review myself to see, because that's interesting, because I think I bulked something that to partial paths now doesn't exist on missing basket. I know that makes sense because we renamed missing basket to empty basket. Yeah, that does make sense. Why did that move? Okay, there might be some stuff I need to tidy up, but I will figure that out. Cool. So let's change to this view. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Sammy, for coming on this journey. There'll be we'll come back next week, me and somebody else. I don't know who's on my list. It might be, I think it was going to be Valeria, but Valeria's on holiday. Oh, I don't know if I hear Sammy's keyboard, so I don't know if he's looking for the list.
I'm not looking for the list. I was thanking everyone for joining on the chat.
Okay, and if you want to, if you haven't had enough of Sammy's voice, you can hear him on the giant robots smashing into other giant robots, where he's interviewing other developers and designers, product owners from across Europe, West Asia, and Africa.
Yes, we are, and we're getting a lot of guests in. We mostly do external guests, and at the moment we're doing a lot of AI founders or co-founders, startups, especially as we focus kind of more on AI development at ThoughtBot as well. But I really appreciate you plugging the podcast, because I wasn't going to plug the stream. But I guess
that's because it was recorded in the past, and that's the only reason you haven't, because you hadn't done the stream at the time. Yeah. Okay, good.
But
good.
I've really enjoyed it. I'm hoping you'll have me back again.
Yep.
If the fans, the followers, the listeners, the viewers, if they want me back again, leave some comments.
Get in the comments.
Give me a shout. Get in the comments. Hit subscribe.
Don't forget to hit that bell.
The merch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye.